Welcome to the SEWP 5 training video on the website for SEWP. This is going through how some of the major functionalities and information that is provided on the SEWP website, but please note that there is much more detail than we will be able to get into in this video. We're going to go through some of the key features. First of all, we're going to go to the fast access. These are links that we feel is important for everybody to know are available. SEWP login is how you can register. If you click on that page, it'll take you to either a login or create a SEWP account by registering now. And so if you have not yet had an account, click on register now and then go ahead and enter your information. If you have an account, you would log in here. At this point, we're not going to log in because until we get to SEWP tools, everything we show you is a public information. So we're going to go back to fast access. Next link is FAQ, the frequently asked questions. Really quickly go there just to show that there is a large amount of information available to you. We show you some of the most viewed articles, including from our industry, how do you become a SEWP Prime contract holder, and from our customers, are SEWP prices fair reasonable? Let's click on that link just to show that SEWP does not answer FAQs with a yes and no. We answer them with a full detail, links back to the FAR, links back to the contract, so that you can utilize the responses in our frequently asked questions to document how you're utilizing SEWP and how we function. If you ever have questions, of course, always can go to help@swp.nasa.gov and ask us for more information. So under fast access, we can go to the training videos, which is where you probably went to get to this training video. Note that there are both longer videos, and throughout the website there are short 2 to 3 minute videos to help you at certain key functions that occur within SEWP. Next, we'll go down to SEWP 5 contract info. Here we list some key information general information about SEWP, including the effective date beginning May 1st and running through April 30th. It is a 5-year contract vehicle with a 5-year option. And in 2019, we are working on the update to exercise the 5-year option, which will occur on May 1st of 2020 to carry us through 2025. Note also the ceiling limit. This is up to the second number. So if your order is under $19 billion, you will not exceed any of our contract limits. And that is there for you if you need to document that limit. We then list the contract clauses. This is a PDF file that just lists all the contract clauses in the current contract. You would go to the revised contract, which is the current list of contract clauses. Note it's from June 2016. During the exercising of the options in 2020, we will be updating all of the clauses to the current situation. So if you have a clause that you know is more recent or has been updated, yes, you can include clauses at the delivery order level and utilize the clause list that way. That shows you the revised contract clauses. That's just simply just a listing. You may want to actually see which clauses are in a contract and or the provisions that are included in a clause. To do so, you can go to the contract holders list. There are 2 basic contracts, so we can go to that list. And from there, select a small business and select an other than small business, because once you have seen a contract from one of those size companies, it will be the same for all similarly sized companies. So if, for example, we want to look at other than small, we could go to CDWG's contract. By clicking on CDWG, note that they have 2 contracts, one under Group A, one under Group D. Again, both contracts will be the same in this case because they're a large company in either case. We aren't going to actually show you, but if you download the PDF, you will then obtain the full suite of clauses and provisions, the PDF file that contains the entire contract. You can review that contract, and if a clause is not in there, or if you have an update to a clause that is in that contract, again, you can add that at the delivery order level. Also on this page, we list all of the Dunstan and Cage code that you might need, the NACE code that you might need to use, and the business size designation. We also provide you with multiple points of contact, at least 2. And then we also provide you with the contract address to use on your order. For any time that a company shows up on our website, there is a link back to this page for that company so that you can easily obtain this information at any point in time. While we're talking about contract holders, let's take a switch over to that menu. Several different ways of looking at the contract list, but we also have a link called the Program Performance page. In SEWP, we do a continuous performance rating of our contracts. Note that this is not a past performance and should not be utilized as a past performance determination. It is a program performance. It is how are these companies performing today based on the past few months of activity. The first 4 columns are qualitative in nature. The first one is for reports. It is an internal tracking of performance. How are they providing reports that are required back to the program office? The next 3 are more external facing. Any issues in terms of customer satisfaction, we typically obtain information in that regard via emails that you, the customer, provide us, or phone calls to our help desk. Information distribution is a determination if any of our contract holders is not providing accurate information in their quotes or other details or website about SEWP. That would be a information distribution strike or downgrade. And then finally, contract adherence is how is that company working in terms of the processes and provisions of the contract itself. Note that for the most part, companies are going to be excellent. That is, our goal is to make sure that they are working at an excellent level. If, however, they do have an issue, we may give them strikes or downgrades, which will show up here, and are primarily to be used for us to provide them with incentive to work correctly within the contract and within the program framework and return back to excellent. There is, in fact, a 3-month period if they do have an issue by which they can prove that they have fixed that issue, and we will return them back to a different level. There are some situations where a company will come out as poor. So if that happens, we will actually indicate to you when you obtain a quote that the company has a poor rating, and you may want to then contact us before issuing an order to them to obtain more information as to what that poor rating is concerning. That does not happen very often. It is typically related to a major issue in which the company likely is not even able to obtain quotes at this time, but we do notify you. So there's no reason to go to this page other than to do a quick review, how's the company doing, except perhaps for the last column. The last column is actually a quantitative statement. It is a determination of how well these companies are meeting their stated quoted time. It is not how fast they deliver, it is are they meeting what they quoted to you, the customer. If they quote 6 months and it takes 6 months, that is fine. But if they quote 6 months and it takes 9 months, that is not. They quote 2 days or 2 weeks, again, that is fine. They then just have to meet that time period that they quoted to you. If they do so for all of their quotes, they'll be excellent. If they occasionally have issues, they may be very good. If they have lots of issues, they may have lower ratings. The neutrals indicate that these companies have not done more than 5 orders in the past 6 months. We can't do a quantitative rating if we don't have enough data. So neutral just means that we don't have enough data to give you a fair statement as to how they are meeting the delivery times. Here again, if a company is in a poor status, we will tell you when you get a quote from them that they are in a poor status in terms of delivery or any of these categories. Let's shift back to the fast access and the homepage. Going back to where we were with the contract info, the next link we want to look at very quickly is a credit card. SEWP operates under FAR Part 16, in which fair opportunity is required if an order is over the micro-purchase limit. However, if it is not over the micro-purchase limit, you do not have to give fair opportunity to companies. You can go directly to a SEWP company or any set of companies that you wish to obtain quotes and to submit credit card orders. On this page, SEWP lists those companies who are more than happy to work with you on obtaining quotes under the micro-purchase limit. And in fact, several of them have a website that you can go to in order to review their SEWP offerings and create an order directly with that company. If you do so, that company will then provide that order to the SEWP program office for verification. So there is still a verification process that occurs behind the scenes, but you can work directly with the company to obtain quotes, create an order, and they will then fulfill after verifying with us that the order is correct. Under SEWP tools, we'll show you the one tool that is available to publicly, which is the provider lookup tool. Note that there is another tool we'll go to, the market research tool, which provides more information. But if you're not a government customer, this is available to any entity utilizing our website. From here, you can look up the 6,700 or more, as we add more companies every day, companies that have a product or service on at least one contract. Note that this does change every day, so if a company does not show up when you search, that only means that you should ask for them to be added. It does not mean they are not available. So we will start by searching on a company such as Cisco. In doing so, we note that there are 140 contracts that have Cisco products and over 3.7 million line items with Cisco on them. So clearly, if you want a Cisco product or service, SEWP will have those available. Under the associate names are all the names that Cisco is currently known by through our system, are often names of companies that are owned by that provider. You can, from here, click on the Cisco Systems link. That will take you to the list of 140 companies that have a product or service currently on SEWP. Again, this is a dynamic catalog. It changes every day. So if a company does not show up as authorized, that does not mean that they are not. It just means that as of today, they are not. When you ask for them, they may be. Wait until you obtain your quote and your verification file. That will tell you whether or not that company is truly authorized for what you are asking for. So this is just a snapshot of fully authorized resellers and other companies providing Cisco products and services on SEWP at this moment. The other public page we're going to quickly show you is a FedRAMP. There are actually two versions. The FedRAMP page is a succinct table listing of the information available in the larger GSA FedRAMP page. Please go there for full details, but this is an up-to-date listing of those products and providers that have FedRAMP authorization. It also shows the agencies that have that authorization. And if we were to look at this from a government customer point of view, we would show those companies that have indicated that they have those products on their SEWP contract. But note that if they are on this page, they are in scope for SEWP, and so even if they are not currently on SEWP, any product that is FedRAMP compliant can be added to and provided through the SEWP contracts. So now we're going to switch to the government customer view. Those tools that you need to be a government customer to utilize. Government customer view. Those tools that you need to be a government customer to utilize. I'm going to start with the market research tool. And here again, we have to log in order to access this tool. It is a newer version of the provider lookup tool. It actually provides more details and allows for searching on part numbers and tracking of those products and companies you do not find. So we're going to start by finding a provider, and we're going to start with Cisco. And there is our company, Cisco Systems, Inc. Note that on this page, we actually will show you the company's headquarters, which may or may not be where you would think it is. So please be aware that this is the actual headquarters of that company. We can click on that company saying, yes, that is the company we want, and we can add them to our tracking. And then they show up here. We can then try to find another provider. We can try to find Disney. Disney is not currently on SEWP, but maybe there is something that Disney provides that you feel is in the scope of SEWP and you want to have them added to our contract. How will you do that? Indicate that you do not see them, add them to your tracking, and we will track them as a company you did not find. We can move forward now and say, okay, we have a company we found, a company we did not find. Now I want to find a product. I know that there is a part number, specifically a part number from Cisco. Note that we allow you to do description searches, but if you try to use that with a company like Cisco, you will be overwhelmed with responses, and so it's unlikely to be useful. But if you have a specific part number and you're absolutely sure about that part number, you can go ahead and search on that. We'll find that product, and in fact, there is that part number which is available. And that, again, this doesn't tell you that it is only available on certain contracts. It tells you that it has been requested prior to this time by somebody else and has been added to SEWP. In this case, we found it, so we will select it and add that product. Now let's go in and search for another product from Cisco. This time we're going to search for a part number ABCDEFG, which is likely not going to be found. So we're going to try to find that product. And sure enough, we did not find that part number. What do we do then? Well, then we're going to request a new product. We're going to request that this product be added. You can add a description such as routers in the description field so that the companies will know what you are actually looking for, not just the part number. Or you can remove the part number and just do descriptions. In either case, we'll add that product. And now we have a list of a Cisco provider that you have found, a product you have found from them, and a product you were not able to find from them. From here, you can go ahead and do what we call create a request for information. Click on Create as RFI. What will happen now is we're going to take the information that you have gathered, those products, those companies that you have found, and those that you did not find, and through our quote request tool, now request more information from our contract holders as to whether they can provide those products and services and other information that you may want to have concerning that. Note that in the quote request tool, we will default to request for information. We are assuming that you're coming from the market research tool. You have not yet made a decision to do an RFQ, but want to obtain information as part of your market research. So that is why our RFI is set as the default. You can change that as noted. Scrolling down to the requirements documentation, we attach a file, and if we click on that file, we will show that it is the summary of information that you searched on, including who you did find, who you want to add. You want to add Disney, you want to add a certain part from Cisco. You can either in this file add more information or just save that as is, close out of that, and add other attachments, add a summary. What is the information that you want to obtain as part of your market research, including what you did and did not find in the contract to this point. You'll submit that through our system, and the contract holders will then respond with requested information, adding those products and providers that they are able to if they are indeed in scope for SEWP. That is the combination that you should use when using the market research tool. Searching, finding, not finding, tracking, and then creating a request for information to obtain final determination as to what will and will not be available on the SEWP contracts. Because SEWP is dynamic, because we add products based on your requirements, we cannot show you a set static view of the entire catalog because it changes every day based on requirements. Instead, use the quote request tool to ask for what can be added. If you need pricing, you can ask for pricing. At that time, it will be added and priced within our contract and responded to based on your requests. You never have to utilize the market research tool, and in fact, the best way to use SEWP is to just simply go directly to the quote request tool and send your requirements through that tool to the contract holders, asking for what you need and obtaining quotes or information based on your needs. To do so, you will go to the quote request tool and create a new request. First, you will add a description field. This will tell the contract holders why they want to open your request. Note that there are hundreds of RFQs sent out weekly, and if you do not provide them with an interesting description, they may miss what you need. So be sure to use this description field. Use the full 200 characters if need be to give them a sense of what is in your requirements. Under the request type, by default, we start with an RFQ. You can change your own default. If you are, for example, a technical person who only does market research requests, you could make all your requirements a default to market research requests. There are three basic types of requests within SEWP. Request for information is when you are only looking for information and not caring whether or not the items are currently on contract or what the actual catalog price is, but just want to get perhaps an estimate of what they might be, or obtain information, technical information, as to what your needs will match what is commercially available and available through the SEWP contracts. We do not verify information provided through the RFI process. Market research request is when you are closer to the point of actually doing an order or perhaps doing a credit card order. You might want to do a market research request. In that case, we will verify that the products are on contract and the pricing provided back is correct. And finally, the request for quote, typically used when you are going to actually do an order itself. And again, that request for quote is verified that all products are on contract and priced correctly. You may notice a fourth category, request for agency catalog. As noted here, you are strongly encouraged to contact help@SEWP.nasa.gov if you're going to create an agency catalog. We will go over the concept of an agency catalog at the end of this presentation. Make your selection as to the type of request, and then you can determine your fair opportunity. Which companies are you going to provide an opportunity to reply to your request? You need to make first a decision whether you will go to the Group A set of contracts. There are 36 companies in Group A, and a breakdown of their business sizes is indicated there. And there are 132 companies in Groups B, C, D. You can go ahead and go to all the companies in Groups B, C, D, or you can decide that you have a need that can be fulfilled by women-owned small businesses, and then you go to 31 of those companies. Note below that as you click on the type of company, the size, we will then check off those companies that meet your needs in terms of the set-asides. From here, you can certainly decide to go to another company, but if you do, for example, select Abbott Technologies, they are not a women-owned small business. Once you have selected somebody outside of your set-aside, we will then click on all companies because you are now doing a full and open. You can then go back up and say, nope, I didn't mean that, and select women-owned small businesses, and so on. Our tool set will provide you with the options that meet your opportunity under FAR Part 16. We're going to go ahead on and utilize the women-owned small businesses by scrolling down. And now we have the requirements documentation. In here, you will attach whatever files you need with statements of work, bill of materials, terms and conditions, any details that you want to provide, as many files as needed to ensure that the companies understand what your needs are. In the summary field, provide a basic summary of what your needs are, such as I am purchasing laptops of this type, or if there's a brand name requirement, or other details that you want them to pay attention to that help summarize what is in your attachments. So going on down to the 508. If you have a 508 compliance requirement, if you have to, as most agencies do, indicate how your purchases that you're making meet the 508/accessibility requirements, click on Show GPAT. From there, you can select what you are purchasing. For example, let's say you're purchasing computer monitors. You would click on computer monitors. What will happen is, during the RFQ process, the tool will add a file to your attachments that will be the template for computer monitor 508 accessibility compliance. When you obtain your quotes back from the companies, they should attach that filled-in template indicating how their products will meet that computer monitor requirements. We then tell you who you are, and then finally we show you an additional contact section that will allow you to share your RFQ and quotes with other coworkers. You would type in their name, first name, last name, and email. Please try to match the email that they registered with. If they have not yet registered, when they register, they will then have that access. You can add and delete as many contacts as you want at the beginning, middle, and even after an RFQ is closed. So you can always change who has access to your RFQs and quotes at any time. SEWP also has a feature called the Crescent Answer feature. This allows companies to ask questions through the SEWP toolset and you to respond, as we'll see later in this video. This is simply an area that allows you to turn that feature off and change when the cutoff is. By default, questions and answers are through the time period that the RFQ is open, which we recommend typically to occur. We set the default to 5 business days for an RFQ to be open. You can change that from 1 day to as many days as needed. Note that 92% of RFQs, we obtain a response the first time that an RFQ is submitted, which means that 8% do not. The most common reason is that more time is needed. The second most common reason is that not enough information was provided in terms of technical specifications. If you do not get any responses back, you can either yourself do more research or contact help@SEWP.nasa.gov, at which point we will assist you in determining why you did not receive responses, and typically you will then be able to make the changes necessary to obtain those responses. On average, SEWP processes provide about 4 quotes per RFQ. That is the SEWP quote request tool. That is how you submit a request. Now we'll look at what happens and what options you have after a request is submitted. Note that there is a search functionality By default, we will always show you the open RFQs and any RFQs that close in the last 30 days. You can view all of your RFQs or search on a specific one if need be. In this case, we're going to view all of them. We are going to look at the options that are available to you. You have the option to change who has access via the contacts. We have the ability for you to modify or amend an RFQ or a market research request. And in doing so, you will simply have the current requests open to you, make your updates, submit it. At any time when you make a change to your requirements, a SEWP will ensure that all companies will be notified that you have made that change. If all you need to do is extend or reopen an RFQ or market research request, click on Extend, and you will obtain a calendar that you can then select a new date. And again, all companies will be notified that you have reopened or extended the date. If you're not going to produce an order off of a requirement, clicking on Cancel will notify all the companies that you are not going to do an award. SEWP, operating under FAR Part 16, for any order under $5.5 million, you are not required to do an award notification, but if you wish to do so, we do provide a tool that allows you to easily notify the companies that an award decision has been made, and you can provide whatever details you decide you want to provide. Again, it is not required for orders under $5.5 million. And finally, the question and answer feature, Q&A. You will be notified if a question is submitted. If one is, you can come to the Q&A functionality, and from here, you will see all the questions submitted. You will be able to redact the question, so if there is information that you do not want to have all the other companies see, you can change that question, modify it to be more compatible to how you want to have it submitted for viewing by all companies. You will then answer that question, and you will then be able to approve and post that answer. Once you have done so, all the companies that you have selected for that request will obtain access to the question and answer without any identification. So we do not tell them who submitted the question, and we only show them the redacted question that you edited and the answer that you provided. There is much more functionality included in this feature. You can watch the video or discuss with our help desk if you require that. Note that when you are done with your coding process and if you want to obtain a download of all the questions and answers, click on Download All. All questions and answers will then be provided via an Excel spreadsheet for you to utilize in your documentation. Returning to the search functionality and the viewing of all the current RFQs, we do tell you as quotes come in how many quotes have been submitted. We'll now look at the 17 quotes submitted for 56868. And this is the quote page. Several key features here. Number one is the pricing. The pricing is the validated pricing verified through our system. If that does not meet the quoted pricing that is submitted via the attachment for the quote, then that quote has not been correctly verified. If it does match, then you know that the pricing has been correctly verified. The verification itself is shown through the verification file. In the verification file, we list all the CLINs that were submitted on the quote, the description, the manufacturer part number, who the original manufacturer or service provider is. The status is always valid. That indicates that the item is on contract. And if it is not, you will not receive the quote, so it is always valid. We show you the catalog price, that is the SEWP contract price, what you were quoted, and what you saved off that catalog price. If the price is higher than catalog price, you will not have received the quote. We then show you the TAA compliance flag, tells you whether or not the items are Trade Agreement Act compliant, whether or not how they meet EPEAT compliance, and then finally, the relationship that we have verified with the manufacturer. The options are that they are the manufacturer themselves. So for example, IBM would be, if they were quoting IBM, would have an M there. All other contract holders quoting IBM would have either A, D, or N. A means that we have an authorized reseller situation in which the company has, the contract holder has been verified to be legitimately providing those products or services by the manufacturer. D indicates that they are not being verified by the manufacturer. A third party is providing that verification and therefore has a higher risk associated with it. And no relationship means that we have no verified relationship between the reseller and the original manufacturer, and therefore is the largest risk factor in utilizing that company. If your requirement included a requirement that the companies be approved or authorized, then you should only accept quotes in which there is an A for all the line items in that column. Returning to the quote tool, we also have the ability for you to request updated quotes. This occurs if you are in a situation where the quote has closed, the RFQ has closed, and now you want to obtain an updated quote. For example, these quotes closed in 2017. You may want to determine whether or not they are still valid. So we could ask for a verification and allow the company to provide a new quote based on the current time period that we're in. Perhaps you have a slight change in quantity or other small non-substantive change that does not require you to reopen the RFQ, but you do want to update the quotes themselves. Maybe there's a clause or something you won't need to verify. So you can do so. The companies that you check will then have 24 hours to update their quotes, and from there you can proceed. So that is the basic concepts concerning the quote request tool and obtaining quotes and information through the SEWP process. Finally, we're going to turn to the newest feature in SEWP, the catalogs, the agency catalog concept. We're going to go to agency catalog tool. From here, all agencies can review the government strategic solutions for laptops and desktops. This is a very specific agency catalog that was created under the auspices of the Office of Management and Budget in conjunction with the other GWAC vehicles at GSA and NIH, where we had a set of specifications for laptops and desktops, requested information from all our contract holders which products meet those specifications. We then created a suite of catalogs that you, the government customer, can go to select from and obtain a laptop or a desktop. So if your needs, for example, is for a lightweight laptop, you would click on the GSS version 4 laptop. In this case, we will show you those products that have met those specifications. You can actually view them by price initially. You can view their specs. You can down select which business size, other filters. You can do comparisons of multiple product offerings by doing the comparison, and so on. So it's a basic catalog functionality, much as you would see with some of those large companies like Best Buy might have. From here, you can decide that you have a product you wish to purchase, and it might be that Dell Latitude 5290, and then you can add that to the cart, and then that is available for you to purchase from the cart. If you want to provide a opportunity to obtain more information, or perhaps get options that aren't listed here, or otherwise interact with those companies that are in the agency catalog, there is a concept called the catalog RFQ, which allows you to submit an RFQ based on this catalog, but only going to those catalog participants, asking them perhaps to get you better pricing. Maybe you're doing an order of 5,000 of these laptops, and the pricing here is going to be the pricing for a single laptop. So you would then utilize the catalog RFQ concept to submit an RFQ from this catalog. Once you've obtained information as to what you want to purchase, one way to conclude that purchase is to go to the cart itself and do a checkout. In checking out that, you have two options. In this catalog, you can either do a credit card purchase, or you can download the ordering details. If you're doing a credit card purchase, just click on that link. You will then be prompted for some more information about who you are, and then that will be supplied to the contract holders, who will then return to you with requests for your credit card number and fulfill your order. If you're doing an order that you will need to do a delivery order for, you can download the ordering details. That will download a file that you can then utilize in creating your delivery order, utilizing that ordering details. So that is the basic concept of an agency catalog. Agency catalogs are essentially a snapshot that are created either government-wide in the case of this laptop and desktop situation, or an organization or agency can, for that organization or agency, provide your own catalog. For example, you may want to create a printer catalog for your agency, in which case you would go out, utilize our quote request tool to do a request for agency catalog, submit that requirements out to our contract holders, obtain back from them information as to what printers meet your needs. You would then come to us and say, these are the requirements, the specifications that meet our needs, the products and pricing that meet our needs. We will then create an agency catalog for you and your agency to utilize to purchase, much as you just saw from the government strategic sourcing catalog. That is the basic concepts of SEWP. Again, there is 2 basic videos, the training slide video and this website video that use in conjunction to understand the basic concepts of SEWP. You may also obtain in-person training, watch webinars, or otherwise interact with SEWP by going to our SEWP website, contacting us at help@sewp.nasa.gov. Thank you for your attention, and please feel free to let us know if you have questions.